a little bit over a year now, the specific motion tracking thing. You can see all these examples right here. Okay, so I need a couple of examples, couple more examples of that. Let's add in ones that we haven't used yet. I definitely wanted to use the old movie camera. Definitely want to use maybe this one. If I wanted to adjust the audio for all these clips, I can select them all, go over to audio, and just bring the slider down for all of them, and it will adjust that audio level for all those clips all at once, which is really quite a time saver. And that same trick for audio can apply to video clips. These ones right here, they're all a different aspect ratio, so if I highlight them all and then change the scale to 114, I have changed the scale on all of those clips. The same thing would be true if I wanted to add an effect. I could highlight a bunch of stuff, go into my effects, and then double click on it, it would just apply it to everything that's highlighted. So you can do bulk actions. All right, so let's take another look at this with all of the clips in it and with all of the audio in it and see how this works. Motion tracking is a really fun and powerful and just awesome effect to use in your videos, and fortunately in recent years it's become easier and easier to use. So today I'd like to introduce you to how I use motion tracking in my video intros. And what you saw just right there was an example of what I'm talking about, and it's something that I've been doing for a little bit over a year now, the specific motion tracking thing. You can see all these examples right here. Basically what I try to do in an intro to a video is have an interesting looking shot. Usually it involves the product or whatever I might be talking about in that video, and then I find a place to put my little animated logo in it, where the logo, even though it's a all right, I think that's pretty interesting. So that's 51 seconds. We're not even a minute into this video, and we've seen all these examples. We have 2 different songs playing. If that's not going to get someone interested in motion tracking, they're just not going to be interested in the topic of this video, I don't think, which is fine. So I think that's about as good as that could be. The last few things to add in here, let's go through and see if there's anything else that we need to. Here was a mistake. I had deactivated this clip to listen to some sound, and I forgot to reactivate it, which means if I exported this, we would just have black there. So I'm gonna make sure to keep that active. Look for any other markers of things we still need to adjust. And we're pretty good, except for this one here, channel supporters. To do this, I just have a spreadsheet that I keep track of everybody's name on when they join, when they leave, and then I have a Photoshop document where I add that in, and then I just update that at the end of working on each video and then export it as a PNG, because a PNG image file will have a clear background. And that's what lets me add names over video. And that's just, there's a bunch of ways to do it. I could use maybe a built-in titler within Final Cut, but this is kind of easy to sort of have this ongoing list be as accurate as possible for each video. And then I just extend it out to fill up this whole frame. Whenever you're working with a still image, you can just extend it. There's no lack of frames, so you can just make it as long as it needs to be. I want it to match this one right here. And then I try to make sure everybody's names get to be as big as they can without getting cut off. So that's about it for there. And then you can kind of see what I'm saying here. This white text on this background is still a little bit hard to read. So I might even lower this a little bit more to make it easier to read the names. Video that I made. And speaking of things that are fun and creative, yeah, I think that looks pretty good there. Now, we need to bring in this background song. So I'm going to cut this song here. Normally I switch my songs between the end of the video and then where I start talking about channel supporters and what to watch next. So we'll have that fade in. Maybe it can go over just a little bit here. It can maybe even be a longer fade video that I make. And speaking of things that are fun and creative, thank you to everyone who helps support my channel through Patreon and YouTube channel memberships. And if you're looking for a few more ways to help progress your Final Cut Pro skill set, check out these videos right here. I do want to choose the range tool, and after I'm done talking, I want to bring this back up just to about -17. This is a really loud song, so I don't want to like make anyone mad. Check out these videos right here. That's basically how the video would end. Sort of ends abruptly, but it's fine. I don't need this generator that was just for timekeeping. Looking at our time, we're up to 16 minutes and 12 seconds now. So we went from 16:03 to 16:12 because I added in the montage of all the intros. I don't think there's 12 seconds to cut out. So this video just might be a 16-minute plus video, which is fine. The other thing too is now I'm gonna have a gap where there's no music. So I am going to need to loop this song a little bit. Just for, it's like so close, but not close enough. So let's mute all of these so I can hear this. Yeah, we're just gonna get rid of that. Sometimes what I'll do in this kind of a situation is I'll just play both songs on top of each other and nudge them until the beats align. There we go. I think it's good. It's almost the same as syncing voice when there's no echo and has that weird flangey sound. Cool. So what I can do then is basically just bring this over here, fade this one in, fade that one out, and it should be pretty unnoticeable. Yeah, that's a pretty smooth transition. I could take this into Adobe Audition and make it the exact length that I need it to fit in this area, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make sure these all get reactivated. And then we just need to exit this song here. Just go over a little bit of a fade, maybe even more of a fade out because I'm fading out the subject of this video. A pop of style to my videos along with a fun, creative challenge in every video that I make. And speaking of things that are fun and in every video that I make. And speaking of things that are fun and creative, thank you to everyone. Cool. This is looking good. The last thing that I want to talk about right now is something that I didn't use in this video, but something that I do use often and something to be aware of, and that's sound effects, not just music. So as I mentioned way back ages ago, Final Cut Pro does have a built-in sound effect library. And to use any of these, you can just click on them to play them. And you can just drag them down, and now you've got a sound effect in your timeline. I think though, while there are some good sound effects there, you're going to very quickly feel limited by the sound effects library in Final Cut Pro. Fortunately, most of those royalty-free music services also have some kind of sound effects library, and YouTube has a sound effects library. But the thing that I have found to be the best, easiest resource and highest quality resource for sound effects is an application called Soundly. It's not free, it's a monthly subscription because of course everything is a monthly subscription. But I've been using this for I think 4.5 years at this point, and I love it, even though I don't use it in every video. Basically, you just get to search for different sound effects. So let's look at this video. Do you remember this intro section over here where I said, listen to how that whoosh happens when the music matches the lens flare coming around the microphone? Well, that's awesome. But what if I wanted a whoosh sound and I didn't have one in my music, but I just wanted when this awesome flare pops out, I want that whoosh sound, even though light doesn't make a whoosh sound. I can go here and I can type in like whoosh, and I get it all. Look at how many whooshes and swooshes there are. And then you just click on the ones that you want. I've done this a number of times, so I know I want actually a low whoosh. And the reason I love Soundly so much, other than the fact, I mean, look how many whooshes they have. It's a lot. When you want to add it, you just select the part that you want to add, and you just drag it directly to Final Cut, and you're done. And now I've got this sound effect in here. Sound design is an entire process in and of itself, but some of the basics here, I'm going to look at a visual and try to create an accompanying sound for it. That is not synced right. And usually when you add your sound effects, oftentimes you'll want them to be a lot quieter. You don't want them to be super noticeable. And this can also happen when you have graphics come on screen. Maybe instead of just having a graphic hang out on screen, you want it to whoosh in or like pop in or that kind of a thing. And that's where sound effects can be really helpful. You could also have fun with stereo because you can click on your audio and then you can go into pan. You can do stereo left, right, and you can start panning things left or right. So now that sound effect's only gonna be on one side or the other, or if you're doing a whole scene and you wanted, this thing is happening on this side of the screen, so you're gonna pan that sound over there. But I just wanted you to be aware of sound effects. You edit them the same way you would edit any other audio within Final Cut, and Soundly is a really great tool. So as far as I can tell, we pretty much have a finished version of this video. Our song goes all the way on the bottom. We have everything cut here. There are a few things we need to do though before it's going to be ready to export, and that's what we're going to be covering in the next section about finalizing and exporting the project. And to be just totally transparent with you, this is normally where I would probably pause this and then come back again the next day with a fresh set of eyes so that I can jump in and look at this with a fresh perspective. Maybe there is something I could cut out that could get it under the 15 or 16 minute mark, and not rushing myself is going to lead to a better video in the end. Something that can happen a lot with videos is you start working from start to finish. Especially something like this. It's a 16-minute video. I'm working from start to finish. That's normally what I'll do. At the beginning of the video, you're feeling pumped. You're energized. You're like, I'm going to add in these graphics. I'm going to add in these B-roll clips. By the time you're at minute 11, you're like, I'm tired of doing this. I'm just going to crop in. Maybe I don't need to do anything here. And you will often notice when you watch videos that the first part of the video seems to have a lot more care and attention put into it than the second part of the video does. One thing you can do to mitigate that is when you're doing one of your editing passes, instead of starting at the beginning, start at the halfway point or even the 2/3 in point, depending on the length of your video. Because if I were to just start, say, at 10 minutes here, do from 10 minutes to 16 minutes, and then go back and start at the beginning, now I'm going to have more energy to put more effort into the last part of this video so that people don't start losing interest as the video goes on. So probably before now and the time that we go to export, I am going to go through this a couple more times on my own just to fine tune little tiny things and make the video as good as it can possibly be. And then we will be ready to get it all ready to export. So this is exciting. It feels good when you get through a video, when you're getting through a video and your timeline starts to come together and it's looking like a project, you really start to feel good about the thing that you made. It's a really fun process to see an idea and then raw footage turn into a thing that you can share with the world. So that's what we're going to do next, is figure out how to get that ready to share with the world.